Hello and welcome to the CFC Talk podcast. And tonight I'm not joined by our regular hosts, Alex and Matt. They are taking a rest, and thank you for them for taking over for so long while I was away. But tonight we're joined with a very special guest, an ex-Chelsea player, someone who is very close to tonight. What we're just about to discuss. Paul CANOVILLE, one of the first. He was, if I'm not wrong, he was the first black player to play for Chelsea. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Good evening to you too.
How are you doing?
Not too bad. It's been a busy week, doing ambassador roles, duties, Black History interviews, obviously for this month, and virtual Zoom interviews, should I say. So it's been the start of a busy week, and next week is going to be as much busier too.
Yeah, I mean, Black History Month is quite a busy month, I'm sure, for you, as you mentioned a few times when we had a chat on Twitter.
It's obviously different this year round because of what's going on, the pandemic and the COVID. Having to do, obviously, interviews virtually and Zoom, where usually I'd be going into colleges and schools and talking to students. Various other discussions, to be honest, but it's different, and obviously you see it as another experience and wider.
So just a bit of history about you, and I'm not going to speak a lot here on the podcast. I'll let you take the platform, and because and one thing that we decided to do as a team is that we're not going to discuss Chelsea tonight. We're not going to discuss Chelsea's performances or anything, because we want to highlight the issue of racism and how people should deal with people who are racist, or how we should spread awareness about this and help out and help the fight against racism. But first, Paul, if I'm not wrong again, 1961, you were born in England. So how would you describe your childhood like? What were your hobbies, or how did you get into football and your schooling and where what you did as a child?
Well, being that it was 1962, I was born. Born in Middlesex.
Oh, Wikipedia's got it wrong.
There you go. Not very good, is it? But brought up in the town of Southall, West London. We had Asians, Dominicans, Caribbeans all there, which we all got on. Brought up, well, two kids, my mum and my sister. No, should I say my sister and myself, by my mother. My dad had left when I was one. It was difficult times back then, mostly difficult for a young black woman to bring up two kids on her own. Obviously, when you had the likes of 5 families living in one house, the queue to use the kitchen, the queue to use the bathroom, it was always a set time as such. So yeah, that period was a difficult time growing up, but it made me and myself where I am today, and realizing how tough it was, that what I have now doesn't come near or bear, should I say, as easy. Growing up, I always knew from the age of 5 that I wanted to be a professional footballer. That wasn't obviously what my mum's wishes was, as she wanted me to be a doctor or a policeman. One of those, and neither of those, to be honest, it came to mind. My school, it wasn't that I wasn't interested in school, I just was only interested in sports. And I was a really good sportsman. I played everything from basketball to cricket to football and even athletics. But yeah, I think she tried to instill, obviously, the education into me, but it was transparent, to be honest. Everything for me was football. So every probably opportunity when I told her that I wanted to be a professional, she didn't go down too well. So I think she tried to hold her best by deterring me from playing football by giving me piano lessons and so forth. But I always went back to football. So growing up, it was quite easy. It was playing for district, playing for the school, my school age, playing for the older school age, playing for Saturday side, playing the Sunday side. Any opportunity that I could play football, I did. And it's funny, like today, it's funny, I did my ambassador roles, like for a couple of charities that I kind of support, should I say. It's that the lads were out early in the morning. It was good to see those lads that got up and were at the event by 8 o'clock. And I remember the same thing when it came to football, how early I'd get up from bed. But when it came to going to school, I would sleep, you know. So that's the difference. So I think the turnaround is what we're doing here now with the kids, obviously with what's going on with the COVID, and not just that, the little knife crimes that's been going on. It was really good to see these kids that came out today to play some football and that solidarity in amongst them. But yeah, growing up, it was difficult down in Southall. As you grew up as a teenager, there was a lot of National Front and the skinheads, that it wasn't safe to walk the streets at time of night or time of evening, because you were just automatically being picked on and attacked. So that was a frightening time, especially when you didn't mind too much when you was on your own. But when you've got your sister on there, you've got to take care of her. And then you've got to be at home at a certain time. But when your mum's giving you that time, that's the time, not 1 minute, 1 second. That's the time you've got to be in. So when now you've got to rebalance your journey, because now you've just seen a car that slowed down and you know what that means. That's trouble. So you turn around and you have to go around the long.
Sorry to interrupt here, but is that something that really shaped you as a person and really made you determined about football and the change in community? And as you spoke about charities, a lot of the times when I go on Twitter or on social media, I see you promoting charities and helping out people. Is that what you planned from a young age? That, yeah, I want to play football, but on the side, I want to make sure that I'm helping out communities. I'm changing this phenomenon that's there already.
I don't think, no, I wouldn't have known that at the time, don't get me wrong. And it was unfortunate that I got injured at an early age, which obviously when I went to rep, then that I'd be doing what I'd be doing now. The whole objective of what I'm doing is that I'm able to. And I think that by the time when I was a young lad, I didn't have anybody to look up to. As I said, my dad left when I was 1, so I didn't have a father figure. I didn't have a mentor. It was about me learning and doing self-taught. And it was the same thing when I was playing football. I was self-taught. I didn't have nobody coaching me. But I just had that ability, and it was, you know what I mean? As such that I just was I was very good at it. But it was at them times there when there was a lot of black fellas and Asian that were really talented footballers, like from my school, but they couldn't follow up professional football because the parents wouldn't allow them. The Asian, they had to follow their job, like their company, their business, the family business. So that was it for them. But for me, it was like, where I was talented, I think I always saw that the white boy was picked, or his father knew of somebody who had a connection in football, that they was given more of a chance of having a trial than I was. So that's how it was. It was difficult back then, very difficult. I think I had to bear and wait for my chance, which came around when I was about 19. Yeah, definitely 19. And don't get me wrong, I went to various clubs on trials, West Brom, Wimbledon, and Southampton, and Chelsea. But it was always the case when you went, nobody would say anything. Nobody would say, yeah, we like you, we're interested, and we feel so you got it. Nobody showed that. So you've gone back to the club, which was Hill in the Borough at the time, my semi-pro club. part-time, you could say, because we only trained on a Tuesday and a Thursday and I played on a Saturday unless you had a game in a week. But that was for me, the grassroots at Hillingdon. So I joined the first team at the age of 16. And it was funny because going to all those clubs and meeting Laurie McMenemy, manager at the time of Southampton and these clubs, and being told nothing, you just thought, I'm not good enough. And the similar happened with Chelsea. But they came back again. That was a good thing about Chelsea. Came back and told me, yeah, we are interested. Come back for trials again. And in that second week, I was, signed that Friday by Mr. John Neal, rest his soul. And it took from there, to be honest. I think you never know what's going on between the business of clubs. Obviously, there was a deal that was going down with Hillingdon Borough and Chelsea, but you're unaware what you're thinking about if you're good enough to be a professional footballer.
What I was going to ask you was going back to the clubs that you did trials for and didn't come back to, without naming the clubs, of course, out of respect. Were there instances where you went out of the trial and you said, hey, I'm better than 10% or 20% of the people that trialed here, so maybe I can get another chance, or maybe I can get a call up, and then you didn't end up getting a call up? Or was that just a case of...
It was never a case like that. Don't get me wrong, back then. For me, I was playing against, with players that I'd actually saw in the box. So now I was amongst them. And I played, I wouldn't say I did stay out, but I was playing like I was one of them, as far as I'm concerned. And the two Wallace brothers that went to Leeds, I was playing with them, and the George Lawrence, who was a striker for Southampton. You know what I mean? I was on the wing supplying to the balls, and they were scoring. So nobody, you know what I mean, looked at it and said that, well, you don't look like you're part of the parcel. I looked individually all right, as far as I'm concerned, but it was just a case nobody had let you know. It's funny because, who is it? When I did sign for Chelsea, Tottenham had come in for me as well. I don't know what I would have done if I'd known that one, but it happened. And what happened is that I signed. That was, for me, a dream come true, to be a professional footballer.
Looking back at it, would you have signed for Chelsea or Tottenham?
Nah, I would have gone Chelsea. I would have gone Chelsea. Yeah. Couldn't do each other like that. No doubt about that. Because after being there the week, and if they came the second week, because I got used to the boys. And it was really good to meet the boys, like I'm going really back there, Mickey Droyd, Mike Fillery, Peter Rose Brown, all these young lads, Clive Walkers that was there who I was playing with, and then to actually sign up and to actually be playing and get with them, you know what I mean, in the reserves and so forth. I was learning my trade, but it was like, I don't think I could have signed for Tottenham. It was automatically, really.
Yeah. Going back to the day you signed, were there any questions in your mind thinking, and this is where we're going to cover a bit of racism that you received during your time at Chelsea from the fans? Were there moments where you thought, should I make this deal final, knowing that you were the only black player at Chelsea at the time, and was this a move that you were scared to make, or you were confident that I have the skills to play for a club like Chelsea, and it doesn't matter, my skin color doesn't matter?
Well, you got to understand, I never knew the history of Chelsea at all, and I didn't think anything like that. I just thought this is a professional club. There's nothing like that at all here. So for me, there was no deter, to be honest. I didn't see it. So signing for Chelsea was, as I said, was a benefit to me that I had. What's the word I was trying to find? And
you were scared?
Not stupid. I wasn't scared. No, it was a dream, as I said before, that had come true. Nothing phased me at all, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I was nervous. And when I was playing the week there, obviously before I got signed, for my ability. But once I got in, it was quite easy. Playing the reserves game, training every day. I was like, this is it's a new journey, you know, and a new journey. Of course, you absorb it in and you take it in. I mean, I've just come out from non-league where semi-pro, which is training Tuesdays and a Friday, on Thursday, to now I train in every day, play a match game on a Saturday, have boots, have a match game in the week, and you're back again and training Monday. Come on, man, I'm bubbling. You know what I mean? I'm buzzing. Trust me. So I didn't know anything else. What was going on?
As a young person to sign for Chelsea, knowing that you get to play football for a living, it must be a dream come true.
Oh, most definitely. When I explain that, when I do my workshops, goes to schools, he said, "What's more better? Yeah, playing football, scoring a goal, so I say, and being cheered for it, and being paid for it. Yeah, that's
passion turns into job.
best. Oh, come on, man! Every time. Yeah, can't beat that."
So when you signed for Chelsea, it's reported when you made your first appearance, and this is where I'm quoting something from Wikipedia, so I'm not sure if it's 100% correct or not. Um, there were fans who were Chelsea fans, and I bring this up because a lot of the people that I've talked to about Chelsea, the first thing they bring up is the fact that Chelsea fans are racist, um, more than any other club, they say.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong, that was a history of back then, and that was before I even came. They had that history. When I came, yes, the majority were racially abusing me. But they had some genuine fans at the time. You had to understand it was a national front following that, yeah, I would have been very careful for my life. But there was genuine supporters that totally would come meet me at the gate when games are done and I was ready to go, or before the game, say, "Cannons, man, that we are genuine supporters that support you. We're not all like that." So that was a comforting to hear that, you know what I mean? So as such, don't get me wrong, first debut was against Crystal Palace, as everybody knows from the Black and Blue autobiography. That my debut, that was supposed to be the greatest day of my life, turned out of horror, despair, hurt.
You wrote in there, there's a quote that they published on Wikipedia saying, um, they were saying all of this, a lot of different people. I hardly dared to look around. They were right behind me. I snatched a glimpse, and they were all wearing blue shirts and scarves. Chelsea fans, my side fans, faces, screwed with pure hate and anger, all directed at me. I felt physically sick, and I was absolutely terrified.
So now Wikipedia doesn't say it right, to be it was just a majority of the fans that was racially abusing me and gave me that stick. That, yes, I was so shocked because there I was playing in the same shirt they was wearing, the flag that they were supporting. I just did not expect that. It did shock me. You know what I mean? But as I said at that time, it was frightening for anybody to go against because they were known for their national front and so forth. So I could understand that. And don't get me wrong, what it was.
And as a player, did that affect you? Did that make you want to score more goals, perform better, or did that make you want to sit back and say, "Hey, maybe next club or something like that, or maybe let's look at something
Well,
else"?
well, no, it doesn't make you want to think. What makes you, of course, you're a young boy, you've got to understand that. You didn't expect this. It's your workforce. It's a place of where you're working and what you do for a job. And to receive this from your own fans, of course, it doesn't go down to work. All that adrenaline that I had now dropped. I was kind of not amused, but kind of saddened to know, hold on, I didn't understand why. So to now getting undressed taking off my tracksuit, I'm now not feeling like coming on the pitch at all. And when I did, everything was like in slow motion. I just got the ball and I gave it back, got the ball and I gave it back, and I couldn't just wait. I couldn't wait for the referee to blow his whistle. When he did that, I was off into the change room, and where our change room is like, it's like a church monastery. It's like the utmost banter, should I say? I can't say it's a monastery because that's quite, but it was like that. It obviously was that when the players, should I say, not fans, players came in the change room, it was so quiet they didn't know what to say to me. So it was only the manager at the time that told me, look, I don't know how you're feeling, but at the same time, these ignorant fans are the same players, same fans that are paying my wages. What are you going to do about it? And that was a good shout. It was a good show because he was right. What am I going to do about it? Now, you can understand it was quite easy for me to leave. But to leave to go where? To a next club that might have the same action from the fans. So I wasn't about to let anybody, fans to take away my dream or give up. And that's where I think I get the respect from those in question and the real fans. The reason why I stayed and fought and battled for the 3 years.
I think when we talk about the past, we also need to talk about the present, and this brings me to the issue with racism at this moment, and the steps that are taken by the Premier League, and not just the Premier League itself, but the clubs as well as football around the world in different sports as well. A few days ago, or was it on Saturday, that Borussia Dortmund tweeted saying say no to racism, and the Premier League's campaign, and the players taking knee. Paul, how does that raise awareness, and how does that help fight against racism? And do you think it is effective?
Well, of course it was. I feel so it did because it was brought the players and the clubs as solidarity. The situation that happened with George Floyd over across the waters there did affect everybody. There were the shooting of, is it Blake? I think the lad that got shot 4 times. Is in intensive care by police. I think, well, obviously what was going on there, what showed solidarity was all the athletes down in America had refused to play in all sports. That shows strength. That, you know what, this is made headline news. This is made, look, we need to stand up and do something. And that's what America's done, the athletes have done. I think here, it just took a while for us, don't get me wrong, for an incident like that we took our time to, we need to follow up with something and put the logo, well, not the logo, the words of all Black Lives Matters, you know what I mean, on the shirts, taking the knee with the fist up, and seeing all those players do that before the game, it was enlightening. You know what I mean? It wasn't just coming from the black players, but it came from everyone. You know, so that grounds in itself was very serious for us, very supportive for us, and don't get me wrong. I think it's what we do here in England regarding racism. That's what we got to step up to. That's what we got to look into, and the likes of the FA, likes of the Premiership. And I still say that Sky and BT can make a difference as well. They put a lot of money into the game. We need some discipline, and the committee needs to talk some serious talk about what can be done. Because when the time don't, at the moment, we can say we're fortunate that with this COVID-19 is here and there's a pandemic that, you know what I mean, everybody could be social distancing. But I think this is the time to use it and sit down and discuss how, and when we could improve with looking after our black players in the Football League, in the Premiership, in a way that, you know what I mean, that you wouldn't feel, put it like this, regardless of reason. I do talks at the Cobham, and I talk to under 14s right to the under 18s, and I have parents coming to me and ask me, is it safe for my child to play here? Why would you think that? Of course it's safe. But that's what I'm telling you, that fear factor shouldn't be there at all. It should be gone. You know what I mean? But we can only give that the educated, those who don't know any better. I mean, the situation, because I do so much with my foundation, a young black boy at 10 was playing football and a white young boy racially abused him. That the boy, he didn't want to play football anymore. Now, obviously, I know Paul Elliott, and Paul Elliott is a patron of my foundation, but he's head of diversity for the FA. And I got him to get this young boy and his father to watch international game at Wembley, to make him now change his mind that he loves football again. Another incident when we're talking about racism, young lady Charlene, oh God, what's her name? King, I think, but Charlene, she's an anchor woman on ITV. If you look her up, her daughter went to school and was racially abused, where the daughter now refuses, doesn't want to go back to school. This is what we will look at. Racism is not just in sports, it's in social lives as well.
Do you think the fight, sorry to interrupt again, but do you think the fight for this starts at a very young age? Education, how important is that? You know, educating children all the way from the moment they step into schools or the moment they step into society to all the way in their adulthood. How important is this to make sure that they learn the importance of this?
I think it stresses itself. How does a child, where does the child knows about racism? Where does it come from? Because they ain't just racism just one time. That's obviously coming from the home. So who's that coming from? That's what you got to look at. And if you look at that, then it's regard to the parents. And if the parents are like that, then the whole family needs to educate. Not just the son, the whole family needs. Because there's so much you can take. Yeah. And not from at that age, I swear, Lord, it was never at age 10 and you're getting that racial abuse at your son or your daughter. That's ridiculous. That's wrong in itself. And that's what we got to start looking at. Like, so for me, it's not just about Black Lives Matter, it's Black History Matters. And like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, who were activists back then, whose lives were taken because of it. But we, as Black people, have got to heed those words that they were saying. They was trying to give us equal rights, trying to free us. We need to stay alive so that we can succeed in that for our next generation.
Yeah, I mean, this fight is very important. And for everyone watching, when we discuss about Black Lives Matter and Black History Month, it doesn't mean that other lives don't matter. And this is not an offense in anyone else. Every life matters. And we are discussing this because of the fact that this is Black History Month in the UK and Europe, and this is something that's been going on for decades and decades, and the fight continues, and it will continue because you cannot stop a movement that is so big. And Paul, how important is it to have footballers with large followings interfere and help out and promote these campaigns about fights against racism? How should players take action and help out in these situations?
Well, it is powerful because if it's coming from players itself, it shows the individual how it affects them. And it's not just his fans in general. Um, the reasonable awareness, and we've got to show that awareness throughout what age, or all ages, because those youngsters don't know the history, the full history of what's going on at their club until the father tells them. And that when it comes to me, it's the father say, look, that's Paul CANOVILLE. And they go to say, who is he? That for them now to explain, well, he was the first black player at Chelsea. Yes. And this is what he received. That's how it's got to be explained. But at this moment, still I was having a discussion because when I was playing, obviously, we didn't have any associations that could deal with the situation that was going on with me. I didn't go to the club and complain because I thought if I went to the club and complained, they would throw me out. So I was alone. I had to go back and think, well, what can I do better to be accepted by the fans? Now, with that, you will see, well, hold on. This racism develops from at home, how we can affect or make a difference. This is what we've got to look at because we've got found corporations like Kick It Out and the Show Racing Red Card. Now, these are all organisations that wasn't around when I was playing, but an organisation that really charity-based that goes around schools and educating the kids, the students about racism. They don't have the power. I thought they had the power. If there was a complaint that they could see to it and investigate and deal with it, but they don't. They can't. So it's down to really the FA. It's down to Premiership. But what do we see them doing? Now. So really, when you're doing now, you're not really supporting or protecting the black players, whether you're old, whether you're young. That's how I see it, my opinion on that.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And with these changes brings a lot of hope. And there's always a hope that one day we will live in a world where the racism will not exist. We'll all be equal to each other, no matter our skin color, religion, race. We'll all be same. Hopefully that does happen. But Paul, we've got some fan questions, and some of them we have looked through them, but some of them you may not want to reply to, and you may find some.
Well, I'll tell you straight. If I tell you straight, I'll tell you straight. No, I'm not answering simple as. All
Yeah,
right.
no worries. That's perfectly fine. We did go through them, but some of them were like questions which were fine. But I think this one you already answered. But did your teammates or coaches talk to you about the racism that occurred and how it affected you, or was it you were left on your own?
No, nobody concerned really. It was nobody more or less discussed about what was going on. Chelsea, no, they didn't discuss really or ask me what was going on, ask me if I was fine or anything. The only time that really issue came up with a player, it was regarding when Pat played the second time at Crystal Palace and I received the same abuse. Pat scored the only goal and that's when the game was being televised, but he was being interviewed and refused to talk about the goal, the game. He talked about the racism I was receiving. Now, you understand, no player, teammate had done that before. So that was a great, for me, a support that Pat did there as an individual. He did get told off. He got told off by the head man at the time, I think Batesy, and not to do that. But Pat's his own mind. He's a person you can't tell Pat what not to do, and that was it. But he was, to this day, he's patron of my foundation as well as Paul Elliott, and what he done was tremendous. To this very day, I can never forget it. But yeah, it's what's happening now to today's football. It's got to be sorted. It's got to be discussed right now by the FA and the Premiership while we're in this position at this very moment. And you know what I mean? Let's hopefully, things are hopefully going to change. We're talking about the diversity in amongst the workplace, in amongst at Chelsea. We're not noticing that. We're not seeing a black staff and a black staff. We're not seeing a black assistant who's not been given the opportunity. These are all the things that need to be changed. And I think the people that we got that are on that.
Yeah. A few of the people did ask if you would like to go back in time and meet one person, who would that be and why?
Go back in time, meet one person. I would say I did meet him, but I really would have liked to play with him and probably get a more conversation. And that would have been Laurie Cunningham. They were called the 3 Degrees when it was at West Brom. Brendan Batson, Laurie Cunningham, and Cyril Regis. I just found winger to winger. I loved his technique, his speed, his skill, and that would have been a real good discussion for me as a player.
Someone asked, who is the most influential person in your life, and who someone who affected you in a way which shaped you, the way you are today?
There's not one person. If I'm going to say who they are, that's all my kids. They shaped me up to where I am now. I definitely had a bad time. It was down spiral. When I mean down spiral, I had a spiral time. And they were the kids that raised me up, to be honest. And I'll never forget it. And I just still can't forget it now. So I'm there. They boost me up because the way they've all grown up so well and as acting as big men and big women. I've got so much love for them. So yeah.
Just to end it there, what would you say was your best moment as a player? It doesn't have to be at Chelsea, any team you like.
Nah, it's only at Chelsea, can't be silly. Everybody knows, I think, the game against Sheffield Wednesday where we was losing 3-0. I came on and scored 2 goals in the 4-4. I think even the goal against Fulham, London Derby, was 1-0, but I scored on the volley. That was well taken. My hat-trick, 3 goals that I scored against Swansea, got a match ball. Those are the 3 goals that I will never forget being at Chelsea and what it meant, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, it was great to have a chat with you. I mean, it's always great to talk about subjects which require change and which are affecting people's lives on a daily basis. And I would like to thank you for all the work that you do surrounding these. There's charities that you support. There's I think you do speeches at charities, at clubs, and you help out with this. I think people like you really deserve to have an important voice, and it's an honor to talk to you and about your experience.
Thank you. It is, don't get me wrong, I think one of the next projects that I am working on at this very moment is cancer support group. It's very important to me because I find in the Afro-Caribbean communities, men especially, for the men, they don't like to talk about cancer. They don't like to talk about them being diagnosed. They don't like to talk about what's been happening with them. And I think that kind of stigma and taboo needs to change. So that's what I'm starting up right now. So that message is to those who listen to it from the black, or should I say again, the Afro-Caribbean communities. please get in touch, because we're this group. We want to hear. It's raising awareness. We want to hear your journey, how it was for you, because right now we've got to look at the youngsters, and the young boys need to know that they have to check themselves. They should start checking themselves out to know what's going on. So yeah, that's my scene I'm looking into right now. Once again, I tell you too, it's cancer support group, and check me out in either Instagram by the Canners Way, and get in touch with me, and we can go forward. We can talk.
I'll try and leave all of the links to Paul's socials and websites in the description. 100% support. You don't need to thank us. I mean, it's a great cause. What you do for charities and everything, it's amazing. Again, thank you for coming on.
Hey, a pleasure, man. You do what you keep doing, Mohammed. Okay, so good. Thanks you to the people. Catch up, man. Bye bye.
So, guys, that's all for tonight's podcast. Thank you for watching. It was a special episode with Paul, and it is an important episode. It's as important as any other episode, and it's an honor. It was an honor to have him here. So we'll see you guys next time.